peers. And so now that I've tried to filibuster as much as I can till 10 o'clock. We're starting hour number 2. And this is cool because we now have another guest debut. And this is a good thing. Yeah, in the green room, you get to kind of sit there and look at reactions and everything like that. So it is a guest debut here on the morning show. And Maddie Cruz and the ones and twos is going to be hopping in with this segment as well. We bring in Southern Silves herself, one half of Shea Butter. And ladies, you may come on in and discuss what's going on. So Silves is here. Maddie, you're up. So you can unmute as you wish. And Silves, wow, now I know why you were
windy.
You're in the breeze. Turn your head. Wow, here we go. Close the door and turn your head. Wow. Wow, man. Maddie, fix your wind. I'm going to talk to Silves for a minute.
Whoa, wait, what happened?
You were in the wind. I'm hearing wind in your background.
Oh goodness, I'm so sorry. I don't know how that happened.
So roll up your window and close your door. Get back in your car.
I apologize. I'm here. Everything's all good.
Well, there we go.
Okay.
Doors have been closed. Maddie is functional. Silves, thanks for hanging out with us and welcome to the morning show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the introduction. It's always nicer than I am to myself, so it's great.
It's all good. So Southern Silves on the Twitters, and it is part of the @SheaButterFC and the Shea Butter podcast. So what I'm going to do, I am a chivalrous person. I know Silves has never met me, and she's like, I don't know this guy from Adam's house yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to yield the first question to Maddie Cruz so Maddie can talk to Silves about whatever Maddie Cruz wants to talk to Silves about and find out about Shea Butter. So, Maddie, rock and roll. First question is yours.
Absolutely. Well, I guess my first question is, how did you and Sophia kind of start this podcast? How did it kind of come to fruition? And what was that process like for you guys?
Well, as much as I would love to co-host with, I'm going to assume Sophia Smith, my co-host is Guy. And that's okay. I mess up her name on purpose sometimes. So we actually met on the aforementioned Twitter. I still say Twitter instead of
I do
X,
too, right there with you. Absolutely.
But we, I guess, had a lot of the same opinions, and she reached out and said, hey, I'm thinking of starting a show. I think that there's a lack of coverage around Black players in women's soccer, and just something we wanted to focus on. We wanted to help educate people about the game. We didn't see necessarily fans that looked like us coming into the space, and so it's one of those, if you see a need, fill it. So we decided to do that. We had some help down in Atlanta. Our friends at For the Culture, particularly Greg, reached out to help us as well. And 3 years ago on the 4th, we had our very first episode. So it's been a journey for sure, being in the independent media space. But we've had a lot of fun. Yeah, we've had a lot of fun so far and been able to put hopefully our stamp on a few things in terms of coverage. So
so if I had told you 3 years ago that you would be where you are with Shea Butter, what would you have told me then about where you are now?
I'm not the dreamer of the two of us. I think Sky would probably say, yeah, this is about where I thought it would be. But this is beyond anything I could have imagined when we first started. And obviously still with a lot of room to grow. But I've gotten to go to a World Cup. I got to be in Atlanta this past weekend, and Sky's from Atlanta, so she got to go home for a little bit. So that was really nice. But yeah, I've gotten to do a little bit of everything. I got to cover the Gold Cup, we got to cover the Gold Cup, a couple of months back. Very different experience. And yeah, we get to do a lot of fun things, and we've made some good connections and brought, I hope, more fans to the game.
Maddie, go for it.
Yeah, I think it's just what you guys are doing is so great. I think especially for women, especially like women's sports in general. I feel like it's an area of like media that doesn't get covered a lot, which is unfortunate but now I feel like it's growing so much, especially with everything with the SheBelieves Cup and everything like that. So I think From where you guys were 3 years ago and looking at it now, how have you seen the space kind of develop and grow and be a little bit more open?
I mean, you can see the tangibles, right? You have a league now that has a collective bargaining agreement. We didn't have that when we first started covering the league. We covered it before, sort of the fallout of 21 and 2020 and 2021, I suppose. So you have that. You have sold out stadiums. I mean, I'm a Rain fan. I started covering them when they played at a baseball stadium still, right? So, even in that short amount of time, seeing Kansas City, who also played on a baseball field, now have their own stadium, and their own training facility. And just the eyeballs that are on it, the new TV deal right now, it's a game on ESPN every week during the season. And you have Amazon and all of these larger TV partners coming in, players making record-breaking money, right? You just had, I think, Sophia Smith renew, and it's making her the highest annual paid player. So that's shifted 3 or 4 or 5 times in the off season. So it's really, I think, where we thought it could always be, again, with room still to grow. I think you also look at like women's college basketball, women's basketball in general, just the women's sports space. Is probably more profitable than it's ever been, which brings a lot of new people, good and bad. But yeah, I think it's most of what we dreamed of, but maybe a little bit beyond as well. But I think it's been excellent to see.
So we all have what I like to refer to as our voice, our own personality when it comes to the product that we put out. And, obviously here on a morning show, we do discuss the news of the morning, and we have our newsmakers come in. While we do have fun with it and we will go off the rails, at our base, we are still news, information, opinion, and getting everybody ready for their day. How long did it take Shea Butter to find its voice? Is it still trying to find its voice? And how would you describe the personality that comes out every single time that the two of you have a show with you and Sky?
These are fantastic questions, by the way. I appreciate them. Yeah, I think always still finding it. I think there are some things we're sure of. I think there is a different, maybe cultural perspective that we bring, that we're pretty secure in. We're pretty secure in ourselves. I joke, I don't like hearing myself very much, actually, but
you're not the only one, trust me.
Yeah, I don't like it. But here we are. I think our North Star is sort of being as authentic as we can be in terms of who we are and what we see when we look at a match, when we look at what's going on a pitch. We watch both in person and on television as well. I'm probably a little more of a sicko. I probably consume a lot more football than Sky does. But yeah, I think we want to speak truth. Truth to power, right? Not everything about the sport is pretty. Not everything is easy. Not all conversations are easy to have. So I think we always want to make sure that's sort of our North Star and make sure we're holding people accountable to the things that they say they are doing. And so sometimes we're not everyone's favorite. And I think we're okay with that. I think being independent gives us the ability to do that. And we want to have fun. It's a sport. It's a fun sport. It's the sport even when it breaks your heart, right? So we want people to come to this sport from different backgrounds and diversify the sport in this country that has worked really hard to make it not so. Because at the end of the day, it's fun and we think it's the best sport. And so we want to bring people to it.
Southern Sylves, half of the Shea Butter podcast, SheaButterFC podcast, hanging out with us here on the morning show at SheaButterFC is the overarching thing. And you can go to SheaButterFC.com and do your deep dives there as well. Maddie, go for it. What's on your mind?
Well, also, which by the way is such a clever name. I love it. I was like looking at it like earlier, like yesterday. I love it. I think it's so cool. I love it because I saw when we first met, like here doing stuff for US Women's National Team. I saw your little sweatshirt and I was like, stop! That's so cool.
Yeah,
I love it.
The merch thing has to happen. I think there's a lot of demand out there. Yeah, and the origin of the name is random. I'm pretty sure it's a Kristen Press goal. I don't remember what what tournament it was, but it was a golazo, and it is something I randomly yelled, and I immediately was like, that's the name of the show.
There you go.
So it works.
Well,
Absolutely.
yep. And one of our viewers, listeners down in Charleston says he has a hard time hearing himself also when he's podcasting. Keep doing it because others don't think about it. So
Exactly.
I mean, literally, it's just something that you push through. And for me personally, it is very rare that I will go back and actually listen to myself when I'm done. It's like it's out there in the ether. Let everybody else do it. I don't need to hear me a second time say the same things that I just said. So, I mean, literally, I am right that Sills, I'm right there with you. That it's difficult to sit there and kind of process your own voice in your own brain. You go, wow, I sound like that. And you get all self-conscious about it. Just be yourself, rock and roll. And that's the easy part. Question for you.
Okay.
About She Believes. Now that you've had a couple days, and this is what I do with all of the experts that we bring in to discuss.
Oh, expert is a
to discuss
tough label. Okay.
Yeah, you're getting the hashtag expert label.
Okay. All right.
Now that we've had the semifinals of She Believes, and we're getting ready for the matchups tonight in Columbus to determine 1, 2, 3, and 4 for this tournament that's a cup, that's not a tournament, that's a friendly in international circles because of what have you. Right there. There's your She Believes scarf right over the shoulder. I got to move and shift a little bit. What are your takeaways from what you saw with the U.S. women's national team in She Believes in a match they were down after 32 seconds, but then kept hammering away and walked away with a 2-1 win to be in the last game of the She Believes Cup?
So I got to sit up high in the press box. A very impressive stadium, by the way. My takeaways. The biggest is probably we're better when we're pressing. I know that the world is in better shape now and there's more investment and there's all of these things. America still has very good athletes. And we're very fast, and I think you should play to your strengths. And so what's the point of having a bunch of players under 25 if you're not going to press a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
It's young people's work, as I like to say as an educator. But sincerely, like we're just better when we're attacking, up high, having people turn the ball over, being able to transition. And I thought we were able to do that for large spurts. I think scoring really early or being scored against really early actually helps just because you have so much game left. You don't really neglect your tactical plan, if that makes sense. Though, man, getting beat with the ball over the top is rough in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
But I salute them for rallying. That hasn't always been the case with the national team recently. I think Mal Swanson looks like she did not miss a single day of football, except for maybe the finishing. Though that was a great save. I mean, Jaden Shaw's 19. I think without Jaden Shaw, we probably lose a lot of these games that we're winning. She's just an incredibly efficient goal scorer and just incredibly intelligent. She knows where to be. I think being able to play in that 10 role this past game, probably necessitated by the fact that Mal was back, puts her at the top of the box to receive that ball. And speaking of that, I thought this is probably the best game Sam Coffey has played in a national team kit. I just thought she was everywhere. I thought her vision was great to get that pass off to Shaw for the goal. So I thought that combination of people. And then I still think, in terms of, I don't love that our front line defends so much, but I think if you're going to do that, Rodman is a heck of a person to have up front.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
That's sort of what I saw in the first half.
Yeah. And so Southern Silves hanging out with us, half of the Shea Butter FC group, Shea Butter FC podcast. Maddie Cruz, go for it. What's on your mind?
Yeah, and I mean, looking back at obviously the final today for SheBelievesCup, I mean, we're going up against Canada. We saw them in the final of the Gold Cup. It's this big rematch. I mean, what are your expectations for that match, especially with it being like, it's a rivalry match. Pretty much, it's like it's not a heated rivalry, but it's a little bit of a combative type thing. And I think Canada's out for it. They want to win. So what do you expect from this side, and what are some things that need to be done in order for us to see a win for the U.S. women's national team?
I just think these teams play each other so often that it's a rivalry by attrition, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure what Canada's plan is at all times, to be perfectly fair. Obviously they've gotten a bit younger. Obviously Schmidt and Sinclair have retired, and it feels a lot like their players have been there forever, and they have, because they started really young. So like the Lawrences, Buchanans, Flemings, Leons, all of them started a while ago. So they've got that chemistry now where, it's sort of built in. They know where to find one another. That backline's pretty formidable. I think they have a solid backline. And they're moving the ball better than I think they have in the past few years. Jokingly, with one of our friends, Andre from Diaspora, supper ball is what we said Canada used to play, and it doesn't seem like they play that much anymore. They still have one of the best goalkeepers in the world, so scoring on them is always going to be a tough task. And then for the U.S., I think still pressing. Like I said, that's a pretty formidable back line, so I don't know how many balls over the top you're going to get. I think possession would always help. I think Brazil at times is able to move the ball against them fairly well. So yeah, maybe we'll end up baiting each other into penalties. That seems to be the MO right now.
So you think that this is going to be another exercise in pulling the collective hair out for fans of the women's national team? It's going to take a while, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it'll be, sort of a slow burn of a match. These teams are so familiar with one another. Some of them play together for club. Mm-hmm. Right, I think you have like Chelsea, Lyon, and maybe a couple other NWSL clubs in there. So there's a deep sense of familiarity between these two teams, and so yeah, not a Pacific Ocean game for them this time, as I said. So the last time they played a game would have been a really kind word for whatever that was that happened. But
yes.
Yeah, and I think maybe Canada would like to exact some revenge, and this has a chance to go to penalties. So buckle up is what I would say.
Yeah, another couple of minutes here with Southern Cells and Shea Butter. Maddie, go for it.
Well, I would also like to say in that Gold Cup match, Jaden Shaw and Sophia Smith scored in that match for us. So maybe we'll see both of them go crazy in this match as well, which I think is very likely, especially with Jaden Shaw, who is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I still think about her strike in the SheBelievesCup like daily. It's ingrained in my, especially when the Benz posted the sky view of the goal. Mm-hmm. I was waiting for it to come out, and it did, and I was so happy when it did. Thank you, Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yeah, that camera angle is sick. Like, I really enjoyed that, and I thought Shaw was great, and I honestly thought Sophia Smith was the unsung hero of that game. She just came in like a bat out of hell. She was like, "Oh, we're winning this game on my shoulders today," and drew that penalty. So
she was running up that right side like it was nobody's business. I mean, she was beating defenders left and right. I mean, she drew the penalty, obviously. I completely agree with you. I mean, she has become slowly one of my favorite. I think me and you talked about this when we were waiting for her. She's like, I've loved seeing her grow as she's been a part of this team, and I think she really is going to be such a huge breakout star as she continues.
And I listen, there's nothing about her personality that says she would love coming off the bench, but I do think that there is merit to that sort of super sub role. It's a very different way of playing football. I've heard some of the more famous super subs sort of talk about that mentality, being able to come in, which position, do you prefer coming in off the bench or starting, and the pros and cons of that. So you can score goals. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. So
no doubt about it. All right. So cut the promo for me about everything Shea Butter. Let everybody know what's going on with you and Sky, how they can listen, where they can go, all the facts that folks need to know to catch up with you guys on a daily basis, and where they can find you, where they can find your opinions. Lay it all out for everybody.
Sure. So you can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. We usually try to post an episode a week. Life gets in the way. Sometimes we both have other jobs. I would love to get paid to cover this sport full time, but right now that's not the case. But you can find us on socials. At Shea Butter. It's usually Twitter, SheaButterFC, Twitter, Instagram. I think there's a TikTok. If you just click on our link tree, you can also find all of our social media as well as our website, which is SheaButterFC.com. That will take you to all of our pages as well. And we have special episodes. We usually throw in some player interviews with fans, with front office people, coaches. So really trying to round that out, do community events, particularly around sort of holidays and other theme nights. And I will be at TST this June. So I'm really excited about that as well. Yeah. Okay. So that's going to be super exciting.
So you're telling me that Shea Butter's putting a team together and they're going to be in TST? Is that what you're saying?
No, I wish that money would be very nice. I don't think my knee would like it very much. But I would play some defense though.
There you go.
I like defending.
I am right there with you. Thanks a lot for hanging out with us. I know that once again, the real world intervenes every once in a while, but thanks for all that you guys do in elevating the game. And thanks for everything that you guys have been doing over the last couple of years as you're finding your voice and letting your voice be heard when it comes to everything that is on your mind on a weekly basis, daily basis on the web and on social media. So thanks for coming on with us and letting everybody know about Shea Butter and SheButterFC.
Thank you for having me.